My grandma gifted me a penthouse for my birthday, then my mom tried to take it to impress her new fiancé. So, I just turned 15 a few days ago, and something pretty unbelievable happened. My grandmother gave me a gift that no one could have seen coming. She transferred her penthouse apartment to me. Now, she does not live there. She stays out in the suburbs, but she has owned that place in the city for years and sometimes uses it when she wants to spend a few days closer to everything. I was honestly shocked and grateful. The past year and a half had been rough, and this felt like the first good thing that had happened in a long time. Everything started falling apart when my father walked out on us. He had always buried himself in work and barely had time for me or my mom, but even with that, I never thought he would actually leave. He moved out without saying a word. My mom waited until he was gone to tell me they were already filing for divorce. She said he was overwhelmed, but what that meant, I still do not know. He did not even say goodbye in person. Just a text telling me to be good. That was the last time I heard from him. He disappeared from our lives after that. The divorce went through quickly since our state does not require a long wait. My mom got the house in full custody of both me and my little brother. My dad technically had visitation rights, but he never used them. I have no clue where he is or what he is doing. And then, as if that mess was not enough, 2 months ago my mom sat me down to say she had been dating a guy named Robert. She said they had been seeing each other for a few months and were already engaged. She said she did not want to waste time since she was getting older. I did not even have time to wrap my head around the fact that she was seeing someone and now suddenly he was going to be my stepdad? I was not thrilled. 5 months just seemed way too fast to be deciding to get married again, especially when there were kids involved. But she told me not to worry and insisted everything was fine. A couple weeks later, I met Robert. He acted cold around me, barely spoke. With my younger brother, though, he was all smiles and games. I figured maybe it was just easier for him to connect with a 4-year-old. At first, I let it slide. But then my mother told me something that made everything worse. She asked me to sit down again and explained why the engagement was moving so quickly. Robert had been offered some fancy job out of state, and they planned to move. She said she was going to leave me here with my grandmother. Her reasoning? She did not think I would want to leave my school or my friends. But I told her I wanted to come. I had already been abandoned by my dad. I was not about to go through that again with my mom. That is when she broke it to me. She said Robert only wanted to take my brother. He thought he could still bond with a young kid and build a relationship. But me? I was too old. I would never be his daughter, not in the way he wanted. He also did not like that I had questioned how fast they had gotten engaged. He believed I was stuck in the past and could never accept him. And my mom agreed with him. That hurt more than I could explain. My own mother thought I was a problem she needed to leave behind. I love my grandmother, she is the only person who has been truly solid for me through all of this. But I also love my mom. Hearing her say I should stay behind like some leftover from her old life hit me hard. I tried to argue, but she was not interested. So I told her I did not want to wait. I wanted to move in with my grandmother immediately. It took a few days to pack up and get everything ready, but soon enough, I was out of there. My mom said she still loved me and that she was doing what she had to do for her own happiness. I did not respond. I did not say goodbye to her. I only hugged my little brother. I was going to miss him. Living with my grandmother has been a relief. She is my mother's mom, and she has treated me better than anyone else in this mess. I have no relationship with my father's parents, not that they ever had much of one with him either. My grandmother has been incredibly kind, supportive, and makes me feel like I matter. Aside from the longer school commute, life here is better in almost every way. I still call every evening to speak with my brother, but I do not talk to my mom. We do not have anything to say to each other anymore. Then 3 days ago, I had my birthday. I did not plan anything, but my grandmother went out of her way. She found a few of my friends from school and some relatives and threw me a surprise party. It actually made me feel okay for the first time in a while. After the cake, she announced my present, the penthouse. She said her lawyer would hold it in trust until I turned 18, and then it would be mine. I was stunned. It felt like something good was finally happening for me. I had no plans of telling my mom. But someone at the party must have said something because yesterday she called. She said she heard about the gift and, after talking with Robert, they had an idea Robert wanted to adopt me if I could convince my grandmother to sign the penthouse over to him. I was speechless. She actually thought I would be excited about this? I told her no and hung up. She called again, but I did not answer. Then came the text message. She wrote that she was sorry if I felt like she was choosing Robert over me, but that he was there for her when my dad left. She said he helped her emotionally and financially. She said the divorce left her with almost nothing and that she had been struggling, working more hours, trying to hold things together. Robert helped her through that. She said he was scared of having another relationship ruined because of a child, and that was why he kept his distance from me. She also said that she knew my grandmother would take care of me and that this was not abandonment. It was just her trying to build a future. She wanted me to accept Robert's offer so we could be a family again. She told me my brother missed me. She said she loved me. But honestly, none of that changes what she did. That message did stop me for a second. I will not lie, for a brief moment, I felt something. But by the time I reached the end, any softness I had was gone. That last part? It hit a nerve. My mom expected me to follow along with whatever Robert wanted, just like she was doing. As if bending over backward for him was some sort of family requirement. It was pathetic. I felt like she had given up everything that made her who she used to be, just to make this man happy. So, after about 30 minutes, I replied. I told her flat out that I was not going to do anything Robert asked, and she could go ahead and move out of state with him just like she originally planned. I told her I had nothing more to say. Her behavior had been completely disappointing, and I was done trying to understand it. When I talked to my grandmother about it, she made her stance clear. She said she was not handing over that penthouse to Robert. She barely knew the guy and sure as anything did not trust him. She said if he ever got ownership, he would sell it in a heartbeat and I would never see a cent of it. So, in a way, I was glad I had shut my mom down. But my mother is not the type to hear no and walk away. This morning, she actually showed up at my grandmother's house. She brought my brother with her. I was still at school at the time, but as soon as I got home and walked into the living room, I saw her sitting there. My grandmother wasted no time filling me in. She told me my mom was back to talk about the same thing she texted me about the night before. I was quick to clear the air. I told them I had not ignored the message. I responded, and I was very clear. I told my mom she should go ahead with her original plan. I was not going to ask my grandmother to transfer anything to Robert. We did not trust him. I had made my position obvious. So why was she acting like she did not understand? I was blunt. I had every reason to be. Then she started crying. She said she was trying to make everyone happy, but no matter what she did, it was never good enough. That made my blood boil. She was sitting in this living room acting like she was the one getting kicked around, when really, it was me who had been tossed aside by both of my parents. I snapped. I told her to stop. I said she was not trying to make everyone happy, she was trying to make herself happy. And she expected the rest of us to bend over backward for that. Maybe everyone else was fine playing along, but not me. I had a life to live, and I was not going to waste it trying to make her feel better about the choices she made. She went quiet. Then she left. A few hours later, I realized she had blocked me. I felt a little guilty about what I had said, but I also stood by it. So I asked myself, was I wrong for calling her selfish? Update 1. Hey again. First off, I want to thank everyone who commented on my first post. You all gave me a lot to think about, and to be honest, I had not considered some of the things you brought up. One point that stuck out, some of you said that maybe my mom's relationship with Robert had started before the divorce was even finalized.
I had not even thought about that. But it kind of makes sense now.
Maybe she waited to tell us about him until the divorce was over, just so we could not connect the dots. I never pictured my mother as the kind of person who would cheat.
That just was not something I thought she could do. But now, I am not so sure anymore. And honestly, it is not really my business anymore.
She has made it pretty clear she wants nothing to do with me. What hurts is not being able to talk to my little brother.
I miss him the most. He and I were always close.
The idea that he might actually be Robert's son, like some of you suggested, is eating away at me. I do not want to believe it, but now that the idea is out there, it is hard to ignore. I want to know the truth, but at the same time, I am scared of what I might find. My grandmother and I have been talking a lot about this since that first post. We have not come to any solid conclusion, but it has definitely changed how we look at my mom. I have even thought about reaching out to my dad to get some answers, but I do not know if he would even talk to us. It has been 4 days since my mom came over. We have not heard from her since.
She blocked me that same day. Later on, my grandmother found out she was blocked too. That stings more than anything.
My grandmother has been nothing but kind. She took me in, supported me, and never once asked my mom to help financially. My grandmother has her own money, she is doing this out of love. I do not know many people who would give up their peace and freedom after retirement to take in a teenager, but she did. And instead of showing gratitude, my mom cut her off.
I have so many questions and so much frustration. I keep hoping that one day all of this will make sense.
Or at the very least, the truth will finally come out.
Update 2. Hey folks, this is going to be a long one.
Earlier this evening, something unexpected happened. My dad stopped by. Turns out, my grandmother had reached out to him, but she didn't say anything to me because she didn't know if he would actually come.
She didn't want to get my hopes up.
But he did show up. And as soon as he heard about my mom being engaged to Robert, he came right over. A lot came out during that visit, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all, but I'll lay it out as clearly as I can. First off, I was shocked to see him. Even more shocked when he hugged me and apologized. Then we all sat down, me, my dad, and my grandmother, and he started explaining everything. He said he and my mom had been growing apart for a long time, but they stayed together for my sake. They didn't want to split up the family and put me through the pain of a divorce. But about 3 years ago, he started seeing someone at work. He wanted to come clean to my mom, but he just never had the nerve. About a year ago, she found out anyway and filed for divorce. According to him, she agreed not to tell me about the affair under one condition: he had to meet her demands. That meant giving up the house, letting her have full custody, and only seeing me or my brother when she gave permission. She also wanted a huge amount in the settlement, alimony and child support included. He agreed to everything. The only thing he asked in return was that she never tell me about the affair, because he didn't want me to think of him as a cheater. So far, she had kept her word. But the cost was that he had no relationship with me. He also told me he regretted being so focused on work and not spending more time with me. But he claimed the reason he worked so much was that my mom always wanted more. Her expectations and the lifestyle she wanted kept him grinding constantly. He admitted that was not an excuse, but he wanted me to know that it wasn't all on him. I get it kind of, but it still hurts. Anyway, the real reason he came over was because in the message my grandmother left, she mentioned Robert's name. She wanted to know if my dad knew anything about him.
And that is when things took a turn.
Turns out, my mom, my dad, and Robert all went to college together. My parents were dating back then, and Robert apparently had a thing for my mom. The night before graduation, they were all drinking, and Robert told my mom how he felt. She turned him down, but didn't mention it to my dad until a couple of weeks later. She said she was confused about her feelings, and they decided to take a break. They were separated for about 2 months. During that time, my dad heard from friends that she had gone on a date with Robert, but it didn't work out. Eventually, she came back to him, and they got back together. My dad asked her not to talk to Robert anymore, and she agreed, at least at first. Later that year, he found out she had never really cut Robert off.
That led to a major fight. Not long after, Robert showed up at my dad's apartment, and the two of them ended up getting into a physical fight. Robert thought it would impress my mom or something.
Instead, she got mad and cut ties with him completely. My dad said Robert was always unpredictable and not someone you could trust. After that, Robert disappeared. Nobody heard from him for years. But a couple of years ago, my mom mentioned to some mutual friends that he was back in town. My dad thinks they reconnected around then, and if they're engaged now, it probably means my mom was also cheating. Which would make all the conditions she placed on my dad void. He told me he was planning to confront her. But before doing that, he wanted to give me a chance to talk to her myself. I told him I appreciated that, and I would handle it.
Truth is, I don't know who to believe anymore. Both my parents have made a mess of things. I am stuck in the middle, and it's hard to trust either one.
Update 3. So, I decided to talk to my mom face to face. I didn't tell her anything about meeting with my dad. I just wanted to hear her version of things without any pressure. Since she had blocked me, I had no choice but to go over there. That was yesterday, 3 days after my dad visited. She looked surprised when she saw me at the door but still let me in. Robert wasn't home, which made things easier. I started by apologizing, but only to get her talking. I told her I had been acting out because I was struggling to accept Robert so quickly. I tried to make it sound like I was just being immature about it all. Then I brought up how convenient it seemed that she met someone like Robert so soon after the divorce. I hinted that maybe there was more to the story. That was her chance to come clean. She could have just admitted that she knew him from college. But instead, she said she had been lucky to meet him when she did nothing more. And that was the moment I knew she was lying. My dad had shown me photos of the three of them back in college. The timeline all lined up. Her denial was all I needed to hear. Then, to make it worse, she said she had no intention of ever telling me the full story. She claimed she rushed into the engagement and moving out of state because she wanted to erase my dad from her life completely. And then she told me about his affair, the one thing she promised him she would keep from me. The secret that cost him his house, custody, and time with us. That was it. I got up, said I would see her later, and walked out. Once I was outside, I called my dad. I told him he was free to do whatever he wanted. I had heard enough. I believed him now. My mom had lied to me right to my face. She made her choices. Now she can deal with the fallout. Update 4. A lot has happened since then. First off, the big question. Is my little brother really my dad's son? Turns out, yes. After the confrontation, they did a paternity test last month. My brother is, without a doubt, my dad's child. That was a huge relief. Now my dad is fighting for full custody. Since I'm 15, I get a say, and I've already told the court I want to live with him and that I support him having full custody of my brother too. Still, for now, I'm staying with my grandmother. My dad and I are working on things, but we're not there yet. I trust my grandmother more than anyone, and this is where I feel safe. When my mom found out that my visit was just to get the truth out of her, she lost it. She unblocked me just long enough to curse me out, then blocked me again. We have not spoken since. As for Robert, he dropped my mom like a bad habit. The second he realized my dad was taking legal steps to cut down the alimony and support payments, he bailed. Turns out, he never had a real job offer. His plan was to join his uncle's struggling business and use my mom's money to keep it afloat. That is why he wanted my mom to convince me to hand over the penthouse. It was never about family. It was about funding his own failures. They had been seeing each other for 2 years. He played her the entire time. Now, she is going around telling everyone how awful he was trying to save face. What she doesn't know is that those same people she's gossiping to? They are telling everyone else. That is how my dad found out. And how I did too. Honestly, I am glad she cut me out of her life when she did. I do not want to be stuck in the middle of her mess. Right now, my dad and I are trying to rebuild what we lost. He has promised to step up and be the kind of father I needed all along. And once we sort out custody with my little brother, we're going to try to be a family again.
I am not saying it is going to be perfect. But I think we deserve to try.